make a start, then obviously I'm using the Modern Florals Box Kit, but I am only using the papers. Now, this is about the 4th or 5th card I've made, and I've hardly touched it, to be honest. Hardly touched it. I'm not using anything else. I'm not using any stamps. I have used one of the dies. I have used one of the stamps, to be fair, but I'm not going to use it now because I've already done my stamping. Okay, so I haven't made the card ready, so we're making it as we're going along, because I just basically ran out of time. We are making a floating screen panel card. Okay, sounds complicated, but it really isn't. It really isn't. It's dead easy. There is a little variation that you can do on the one that I'm going to do today. I'm going to go through the bits and pieces that you're going to need at the beginning, and then I'll just reiterate the sizes as we're going along. Okay. So the first piece of card that you're going to need, you're going to use 2 different colours. I'm not using brown. I've already cut my base card. I just wanted to go through it with you and show you exactly what you need to do, but I've already prepared my base. Okay, so this first piece of card, which is your base card, is 5 3/4 by 11 inches. It's all in inches. Don't do centimetres, it's far too complicated, but you know, it's easy to sort of convert it if you really want to. So 5 3/4 by 11, and then what you're going to do with this, I'm going to do this base card first before I go through all the other bits, okay, because then I can get rid of my scoreboard. So we're going to score this at 2 inches on the wrong side. Have I written that on the wrong side? No, I've written it on the right side, but never mind, it won't matter. So we're going to score it at 2 inches, we're going to score it at 4 inches, and we're going to score it at 4.5 inches, okay, and then we're going to turn it 180 degrees, and we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So we're going to score it at 2, score it at 4, and score it at 4.5. Okay. Now then, this middle panel here, you're going to cut 2 pieces away from it. So you're going to cut a piece at the top and a piece at the bottom. All right. Now the easiest way to do it, I would say, is to just find your 1 inch mark, come all the way down, and then just score that little middle piece here. If you've got a scoreboard that you can score with and cut with, and you're happy and confident to cut a piece out with a scoreboard, then do it that way. I don't have one like that, and I don't think I'd be confident to cut with a scoreboard anyway, so I would use my scissors. Okay, now then, I would recommend that you just burnish all these score lines before you go any further, because it's going to make it easier folding it when you've done all your cutting. Okay, so I'm just going to go along, making sure that I'm keeping it level as I'm going, and I'm just going to burnish every single one of those score lines, except the one going the opposite way, because you're going to cut that out anyway, so you won't really need to burnish that at all. So we're just going to score these just to make life a little bit easier on the next stage. And then that last one there. Okay, so that's all our score lines burnished. Okay, now you can see here you've got a score line here, and what you're going to do, however you want to cut it, you can use a knife, you can use your scissors, you can use a scoreboard, it's entirely up to you. You're just going to cut down this 4.5 inch score line to that 1 inch score line that you've done the opposite way. Okay, so you're going to cut down there, and then same on the other side, cut down that 4.5 inch score line, and then cut that piece out like so. Dead easy. Okay, and you're going to do that top and bottom. Alright, I'm not going to do both because I just wanted to show you how easy it was, and now I can get rid of my scoreboard because it does take up a lot of room on my desk and it's a bit of a pain. So let's get rid of that. So you've got all your score lines, you've cut your pieces out top and bottom, and this is what you're going to be left with. Okay, so to fold it how your card is going to sit, you want to fold these two pieces in on themselves, and then these pieces here, this panel needs to sit at the front. Okay, so you're going to fold this piece in on itself, and the same the other side. So turn it round and fold that in on itself like that. Okay, so that when you fold it back, that panel will sit proud, so that when you stand it up, that panel sits forward. Okay, because that's what you want. You want that panel to face forward. All right, and then you're going to decorate it. Now that bit was like dead easy, wasn't it? And the rest of it is equally as easy, I promise you. So let's go through the cardstock that you're going to need. So in the same colour, you're going to need another piece which measures 4 1/8 by 3 3/4. Okay, and that's going to go on there. That's your front panel. Okay, then you need a second colour, a contrasting colour. Now I was going to do brown and cream, and then I changed my mind. Then I was going to do brown and yellow, and I changed my mind again. So I'm doing brown and yellow and grey. So in the grey card, you're going to need a piece that measures 4 by 3 5/8, and this is for your front panel. So that's going to sit on top of there like that. And then you're going to need 8 pieces for these panels. So you're doing this side and you're doing the other side as well. So you're going to need 8 of these, and they measure 5 5/8 by 1 7/8. So you've got 8 pieces of a contrasting card that measure 5 5/8 by 1 7/8. Okay, and then your last piece of second colour contrasting card is this little piece here, which is 3 1/2 by 1 7/8. Okay, and that's going on the back of that panel that this is sitting on. Okay, we'll come to that in a bit. Then you need your designer papers. Now you want 2 different ones, so I'm sticking with the yellow theme here, and you want them all the same size because they're going matting and layering onto this grey card, and that's 5 1/2 by 1 3/4. Okay, so you need 8 in total, 4 of each design. Okay, and then you need 1 extra little bit of one of the designs. It's up to you, and that measures 3 3/8 by 1 6/8. Okay, those are all the pieces you need except the white piece that's going on the front here. And I've already done all my stamping, and this white piece measures 3 7/8 by 3 1/2. Okay, and that's going to go on the front there. So that's going to be your front panel. Now there is a variation, like I said. If you wanted to, you could, instead of making this a panel, you could make it into a flip card, so that it's like a card within a card, and all you would need to do is double up the measurements for this piece. So instead of it being what it is, 4 1/8 by 3 3/4, you would double up the length, so it would be 8 1/4 by 3 3/4, and then you'd score it at 4 1/8, so that you'd still give the same size, but it would be like a little opening card, and it'd be like a 10-fold card, and it would open upwards. And then you would need to double up on these 2, but instead of going for the white, you'd go for a piece of designer paper, because your white one would be on the inside and your designer paper one would be on the outside. Are you following me? Does that all make sense? Those are all my pieces, so let's put it together. It's so easy, but it does look so effective. I'm just really taken with how it looks when you've finished it. And like I said, this is about the 4th card I've made with this kit, and there is just stacks of it left, absolutely stacks of it. It's going to last ages and ages. So you can see I've got a really small matting layer on this, because I think with like all the panels, I think if you went with a bigger matting layer, I just think it would detract from the actual card. I think it would detract from all these pieces. I think they would just look too, the matting layer would just look too big, and I don't think it would work. I mean, it worked on the one I did last, was it Monday? It worked on that because it just made it pop. But I think with this one, I think the smaller you go, the better. So I know it's boring sitting watching me stick them all down, but I was going to be really well prepared and have them all stuck. And then I thought, well, I haven't really got time anyway. But I just wanted to show you how easy it is really, and how quick it is. So once you've done that little bit of fiddling around with this piece, the rest of it is sort of straightforward and easy. Once you've got all your measurements and you know where you're going, it's a piece of cake. I think sometimes you can sort of try and skip ahead a little bit too much, and I don't like to do that, because what's the point in doing the live then? You're not really showing anything, are you, if everything's pre-prepared? I just think these papers, they just go together so beautifully. They just, you know, they mix and match perfectly. And of course they mix and match with everything you've already got in your stash. So, you know, it's win-win really, isn't it? The kit in itself has got oodles of stuff in that's going to last you for ages. But when you combine it with everything else you've already got in your stash, it's going to go 3 times as far. It's just, and for me it's the quality, you know. I've bought papers in the past, and the thing I like about these is they're single-sided papers, and they're not gummed. I don't like gummed paper pads, because with the best will in the world, I do think it's quite difficult to tear them out without wrecking some of your paper. And how do you decide which side to use? You know, I think double-sided papers are a bit of a con, because you can only use one side at a time, can't you? So you're sort of losing half of the pack because you can only use one side of the paper at a time. So to do these just single-sided, I think is absolutely perfect. Much better. And the quality of the papers is just outstanding. I think we've all said, you know, that it's not like paper. It really isn't like paper, it's like card. It's superb. There are no other words for it. It's just superb. Okay, so those are all my little bits all put together. Now then, let's do this one first. Let's put this one on here first, because you don't want this to be bare, because nothing else is going to be bare on the card. So you're not going to see, you know, great spaces of yellow card. So why should this little panel on the back be any different? So let's pop that in there to start with. And then we're going to go that one on there and the same on the back. Okay, you'll see why. When I've added them all in, you'll see why I've done it that way. So hopefully now you can see that that grey just breaks up that card a little bit, that base card of yellow. I mean, it is a beautiful colour, but yeah, I did do that right. Horrible thought then that I put that in the wrong place, but I haven't. So, and you decorate it how you want to decorate it. Glue all over the place now. Okay, so that's the front face, and we're going to whip it over, and we're going to do exactly the same on the back. And when I close this, you'll see why I've put the panels that I've put where I've put them, if that makes sense. We'll just put the panels on the back as well. And then when we put this front panel on, I've just got a little way of sort of making sure that you put it actually right in the middle of the card, and that's where my stamping platform comes in. It has numerous uses. I wouldn't be without either of them, to be honest. Genius pieces of equipment. Okay, so we're nearly at the end of adding our panels on, and you'll notice that the card that I started with is quite flimsy. It's American craft cardstock, and it's quite a flimsy card, but once you put all these panels and all your extra bits on, that's going to give it the stability that you need for it to stand up. So don't worry about using something that is a little bit less substantial. It's not really going to make any difference, because all these are going to give it that stability that you're looking for. Okay, so when you fold it and you go to put it in your envelope, and it will fit in a 6x6 envelope, by the way, 6x6 fits beautifully. Okay, so it's not an expensive one to post either. Okay, so now we want to put this panel in, but we want to make sure it's in the middle. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stamping platform and I'm going to use the grid, and I'm going to line this up on here so that my card is lined up against those lines, those grid lines on my mat. Okay, and then I'm going to use my magnets just to keep that in place. So now you can position this on the middle of that card, on that panel there, and you know it's going to be in the middle. So you're looking for the same sort of distance here as you've got at the top, and it's going to be perfect. And this is going to overhang these two panels here. Okay, so you know it's in the middle because you've got the same amount here as you've got here, and you've got the same distance at the top as you've got on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to add my glue on here because I don't want to get it in the wrong place by putting it on the panel. It's easier to add it here. Make sure you don't go over the edge, because you want these free, these little 1/2 inch pieces here, you want those free. Now I've used quite a bit of glue there. I probably didn't need to use that much because Lisa's glue is you know, pretty amazing, but I just want to make absolutely certain that it's not going to go anywhere. So I'm just going to hold that down for a few seconds. So that should be adhered nicely on there now, and you can see that when you fold it, that panel sits forward like it should do. Okay, so you just got to line it up when you stand it on your mantelpiece, line it upright so that it stands perfectly on your mantelpiece. But it looks a bit plain, doesn't it? So I thought, how can I make it a little bit better? So I've cut some of these out of the box kit, out of the papers, sorry, card, and I'm just going to add these 3 on this side and 3 on this side. Now this is one of those die cuts that there is a right way of adding the die to the paper. So you just need to turn it round until you find the right place, and then I would put a couple of marks on your actual die so that you know the top and the bottom where they fit on your flower. Okay, because your flowers are always printed in the same way, in the same place. So long as you know which way your flowers are lining up, then you'll know which is the top and the bottom of your die. I've got my words out then. So I'm literally just going to add these down here in the middle of this panel, and this is why I put these panels the way I did. Okay, because if I'd have put these flowery panels on this side, I think these wouldn't have stood out as much. Do you know what I mean? It would be I think they would get a little bit lost. So that's why I went for the dotty panel on the outside. Now there isn't anything on the panels on the other side, because you know you've got to draw the line somewhere, haven't you, with sort of how much decoration you're putting on. Otherwise you're going to be ending up putting it in a box to post rather than putting it into an envelope to post. So just bear that in mind when you're putting your card together, and you won't go far wrong. And then finally, once I've done these, just try and make sure that your flowers line up with the one across here. So try and make sure that you get them in the same, you know, line them up so that they don't sort of glaringly stand out as being in a different place. And then what I'm going to do, just to finish it off, is add a little gold gem in the middle, just to make those little flowers sort of a bit more special than they already are, really. So I've got my little gems here, my little gold ones. These are some that Lisa bought out ages ago. I'm not going to use the big tube actually, otherwise I'm going to end up with loads of glue in the middle there, and I don't want that. So I use my little bottle, and I should just get enough just to add my gems in the middle. So you see it's quite a quick card once you've cut all your pieces. It's quite easy to put together. It's quite easy to actually make the base. I don't really do overly difficult. I like it to look nice. I like it to look a little bit different, but I don't do overly difficult because my brain don't work that way. So there you go. There is your floating screen. That's your floating screen panel card, and on the back you've got all your papers, and it just looks pretty all the way along. If you wanted to put some decoration on the front, you can do, but you know, I don't think you need to. And then of course you can just write on here to who you've sent it to and sign it. There's plenty of room on there. I've used quite a big sentiment on there, but this came from the Be Happy stamps. I can't remember whether it was number 1 or number 2 though, to be honest, but they're just a great set of sentiment stamps. So there you go. It was quick and easy, straightforward to put together, reasonably easy measurements. So you know, it's just something to look a little bit different, isn't it, rather than just a plain 6x6 7x7 tent fold stand-up card. It's just something a bit different, and I think it's always nice to be able to send something a little bit different now and again. Have a fabulous weekend, look after each other and yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Bye now.